Here's what nobody's saying loud enough. Virginia just became a laboratory for authoritarian gun control, and millions of law-abiding Americans are about to wake up as criminals. Not because they did anything wrong, not because they committed a crime, but because the state government decided overnight that the magazines in their nightstand drawer now carry a year in prison and a $50,000 fine, each. This is the Virginia assault weapons ban, and it's not coming. It's already here, steamrolling through the legislature while the national media stays silent and while everyone assumes someone else will stop it. Senate Bill 749 just passed committee. The vote was 9-5. It's advancing, and if you think the courts will save you, if you think this gets thrown out under Bruin, if you think someone's going to ride in and protect the Second Amendment, you haven't been paying attention to what the Fourth Circuit has been doing for years. This is happening right now, in real time. And Virginians have about 4.5 months before the hammer drops. If you care about the Second Amendment, if you care about government overreach, if you care about what happens when one party gets unchecked power and decides to criminalize millions of people for owning what was legal yesterday, hit that subscribe button right now because this story is going to get worse before it gets better, and most outlets won't cover it honestly. Drop a like if you want more coverage holding politicians accountable. Let's get into what they're actually doing. Let's start with the political reality on the ground, because this isn't happening in some abstract vacuum. Virginia, a state that many Americans still think of as red or at worst purple, just went full Democrat control. Not slim margins, not split chambers, full control, the House, the Senate, the governor's office, everything. Republicans have zero power to stop anything for at least the next 2 years, and the Democrats know it. So they're not tiptoeing around, they're not testing the waters, they're going full totalitarian, and they're doing it fast. Senate Bill 749, the assault weapons ban we're talking about, just cleared the Senate committee 9-5. It's moving, but it's not alone. They're running a multi-pronged assault on gun rights that would make any authoritarian regime proud. Senate Bill 272 bans firearms in school settings beyond what's already prohibited. More restrictions, more criminalization, more places you can't defend yourself. Senate Bill 348 mandates so-called safe storage in homes, which sounds reasonable until you realize what it actually does. It prohibits you from keeping a firearm in a ready position in your own house. And if something bad happens, if someone breaks in and you didn't have your gun locked away in a safe you couldn't access in time, they'll charge you for that too. Then there's the ghost gun hysteria, banning anything 3D printed, anything home assembled, anything that can't be picked up by a metal detector, like we're living in a 1980s action movie. Never mind that Americans have always had the right to build their own firearms. For the entire history of this country, you could make your own gun. No registration, no serial number, no permission slip from the government. That was normal. That was legal. That was your right. But Virginia's about to make it a crime. And here's the kicker. Republicans introduced Senate Bill 78, which would have actually penalized repeat offenders of firearms laws. People who are already breaking the law, who are already dangerous, who are already committing crimes with guns. The Democrats rejected it. Let that sink in. They don't want to punish criminals, they want to punish you. They want to criminalize law-abiding gun owners while letting actual violent offenders slide. That tells you everything about the intent here. And the intent gets even clearer when you look at page 1 of Senate Bill 749. Before they even tell you what the bill does, before they define what an assault weapon is, before they explain what you're about to lose, they make sure to carve out exemptions. For themselves, for the enforcers, state police, local police, retired police, federal agents, military members, all exempt, every single one. They get to keep their so-called assault weapons. They get to keep their standard capacity magazines. They get to keep all the tools of force. Meanwhile, you, the citizen, the taxpayer, the person who's supposed to be sovereign in this country, you get disarmed. This is the classic move of every authoritarian government in history. Create a two-tier system where the state has all the force and the people have none. The cops who will enforce these laws on you, they're protected from them. The politicians who wrote these laws, protected. The federal agents who might one day show up at your door? Protected. But you're the threat. You're the one who needs to be controlled. You're the one they don't trust. This isn't about safety. If it were about safety, the exemptions wouldn't exist. This is about power. This is about making sure the government monopolizes violence while stripping you of the ability to resist. And they're not even hiding it. It's right there on page 1. Now here's the part that matters most if you live in Virginia. Timing. Senate Bill 749 does not take effect immediately. It takes effect July 1st, 2026. That's the date. That's the line in the sand. And just 3 days before I'm writing this, the legislature amended the bill to include a grandfather clause. This is critical. When the bill was first introduced back in early January, it was going to ban everything, including what you already owned. Your rifles, your magazines, everything. Confiscation by criminalization. But they amended it. Now, if you own a firearm that meets their definition of an assault weapon before July 1st, 2026, it's grandfathered in. You can keep it. In theory, that's the carrot they're dangling to make this seem reasonable. But here's what they're not grandfathering in: magazines. We'll get to that nightmare in a minute. Right now, understand this. If you live in Virginia and you've been thinking about buying an AR-15, an AK-47, any modern semi-automatic rifle or pistol, you have until July 1st to do it legally. After that, it's banned. After that, you can't buy it. You can't transfer it. You can't bring it into the state. If you wait, you lose the option forever, or at least until this law gets overturned, which could be years, if it happens at all. So the clock is ticking. And this isn't fear-mongering. This is basic math. They've set the date. They've passed the committee. They have the votes to push this through. If you're planning to own one of these firearms in the next 2 to 6 years, the time to act is now. Not next month. Not this summer, now. Because once July 1st hits, that window closes, and you're at the mercy of a government that just demonstrated it doesn't care about your rights. So, what exactly are they banning? What counts as an assault weapon under this law? Buckle up, because the definition is so broad it's almost designed to be confusing. And that's the point. According to Senate Bill 749, an assault firearm is any semi-automatic centerfire rifle or pistol with a fixed magazine capacity over 10 rounds. Right there, that's a huge chunk of guns. But it doesn't stop. It also includes any semi-automatic centerfire rifle that can accept a detachable magazine and has one or more of the following characteristics: a folding, telescoping, or collapsible stock, a thumbhole stock, a pistol grip that protrudes conspicuously beneath the action of the rifle, a second hand grip or protruding grip that can be held by the non-trigger hand, a grenade launcher, yes, they actually wrote that in, as if anyone's walking around with a grenade launcher, a threaded barrel capable of accepting a muzzle brake, compensator suppressor, or flash suppressor. Any one of those features, and your rifle is now illegal. So let's translate that into real-world terms. If your rifle has an adjustable stock, the kind that lets you fit the gun to your body so you can actually shoot it accurately and safely, that's banned. If it has a pistol grip, the standard grip on virtually every modern rifle because it's ergonomic and allows better control, that's banned. If it has a threaded barrel, which is just a standard feature on most rifles that allows you to attach accessories, that's banned. If it has the ability to accept a detachable magazine over 10 rounds, and let's be clear, almost every modern semi-automatic rifle can accept a magazine over 10 rounds because that's how they're designed, that's banned. They've essentially defined assault weapon to mean any gun that looks or functions like a modern firearm. This isn't about safety. This is about aesthetics and control. And it gets worse with pistols. The bill also targets semi-automatic centerfire pistols that can accept a detachable magazine and have one or more of these features: a second hand grip or protruding grip that can be held by the non-trigger hand, the capacity to accept a magazine that attaches outside the pistol grip, a shroud attached to or partially encircling the barrel that lets the shooter hold the pistol with the non-trigger hand without getting burned, a threaded barrel, a buffer tube, arm brace, or other part that protrudes horizontally behind the pistol grip and is designed to allow firing from the shoulder. Again, these are standard features on millions of pistols across the country. This isn't exotic military hardware. This is what people buy for home defense, for sport shooting, for competition, and Virginia's about to make all of it illegal. The language is so sweeping that it captures nearly every semi-automatic rifle and pistol made in the last 30 years. And that's not an accident. They know exactly what they're doing. They're not targeting weapons of war. They're targeting the most popular firearms in America, the ones people actually own, the ones people actually use. And they're betting that most Americans won't realize how broad this is until it's too late. But here's where it goes from bad to catastrophic. The magazine ban. And this is the part that should terrify every gun owner in Virginia, because unlike the firearms themselves, magazines are not being grandfathered in. Let me repeat that. Magazines are not grandfathered in. When Senate Bill 749 was first proposed, there was going to be a grandfather clause for magazines. That's gone. They stripped it out. So what does that mean? It means that as of July 1st, 2026, possession, not sale, not transfer, but possession, of any magazine that holds more than 10 rounds becomes a Class 1 misdemeanor. The penalty? Up to 1 year in prison and a $50,000 fine per magazine. Let me walk you through what that actually looks like in practice. Say you're a responsible gun owner in Virginia. You own a Glock 19, one of the most common handguns in the country. It comes standard with a 15-round magazine. You've got a few spare magazines. Let's say you've got 5 of them total. That's not unusual. That's normal. People keep spare magazines for training, for home defense, for peace of mind. 5 magazines. Standard capacity, legal right now. On July 2nd, 2026, if this bill passes as written, each one of those magazines is a separate crime. 5 magazines, 5 misdemeanors, up to 5 years in prison, up to $250,000 in fines. For pieces of plastic and metal that you legally purchased, that were legal yesterday, that are sitting in your drawer right now, and the state estimates there are 5 to 15 million of these magazines currently owned in Virginia, maybe more, every single one of them is about to be criminalized. No buyback, no compensation, no grace period, just instant criminalization. And make no mistake, they will enforce this. Democrats don't mess around when it comes to prosecuting their political enemies. They'll use this law as aggressively as possible. And every traffic stop, every interaction with law enforcement, every search warrant becomes an opportunity to stack charges. This isn't theoretical. This is what's written in the bill. This is what they're voting on. And this is what millions of Virginians are about to face. Now I know what a lot of you are thinking. You're thinking, this will get struck down in court. Bruen protects this. Heller protects this. The Second Amendment is clear. And you're right, it should. In a rational legal system, this would be unconstitutional on its face. The Supreme Court has ruled multiple times that the Second Amendment protects firearms in common use. And guess what? AR-15s are the most popular rifle in America. Glock magazines are standard capacity. These are textbook common-use firearms and accessories. Bruen made it clear that gun laws have to be consistent with the nation's historical tradition of firearm regulation. There is no historical tradition of banning the most popular firearms in the country. So, yes, in theory, this should get thrown out. But here's the problem. Theory doesn't matter when the courts refuse to enforce their own rulings. Virginia is in the Fourth Circuit. And the Fourth Circuit is one of the most anti-gun circuits in the country. We've already seen this play out. Maryland passed an assault weapons ban. It got challenged. It went up to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court sent it back down to the Fourth Circuit. And the Fourth Circuit upheld the ban. Then the Supreme Court refused to take it back up. They just let it stand. So Maryland's assault weapons ban is still in effect, even though it clearly violates Bruen. And Virginia's politicians know this. They know the Fourth Circuit will uphold their ban too. They know the Supreme Court isn't willing to step in and enforce its own precedent. So they're betting they can get away with it. And based on what we've seen, they're probably right. The only difference is that Maryland's ban at least allowed people to keep their standard capacity magazines. They just couldn't sell or transfer them. Virginia's ban is worse. It criminalizes possession. It's more extreme than Maryland. And if Maryland's ban survived, Virginia's will too, at least for years while it works through the courts. So, what can Virginians actually do about this? And I'm going to be brutally honest with you here because sugarcoating this doesn't help anyone. Right now, today, there's almost nothing you can do to stop this bill from passing. The Democrats have the votes. They have the supermajority. They control every lever of power. Calling your legislators might make you feel better, but it's not going to change the outcome. They don't care what you think. They've already decided. They've already shown their hand by rejecting the Republican bill that would have targeted actual criminals. This isn't about public safety. This is about ideology. This is about control, and they have the power to impose it. So what can you do? Practically speaking, if you live in Virginia, you need to prepare. You need to understand the timeline. You have until July 1st, 2026, to legally purchase any firearm that falls under this ban if you want it grandfathered in. That's rifles. That's pistols. If you've been on the fence, if you've been waiting, if you've been thinking about it, stop thinking and act. Because after July 1st, that option is gone. And when it comes to magazines, you need to understand that there is no grandfather clause. Possession of a magazine over 10 rounds will be a crime. So you have to decide what that means for you. Some people will comply. Some people will leave the state. Some people will take their chances and hope enforcement is selective. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I am going to tell you that the state will enforce this law, and they will do it aggressively. And anyone who thinks they won't is fooling themselves. The only real long-term solution is political. It's voting. It's putting people in office who will repeal this garbage and restore Second Amendment rights in Virginia. And that means showing up in 2 years, in 4 years, in every election, and making this the issue. Because right now, Virginia has the government it elected, and that government has decided that millions of law-abiding citizens are the enemy. They've decided that your rights are negotiable. They've decided that they know better than you how to protect yourself and your family. And unless Virginians make them pay a political price for that, it's only going to get worse. This isn't the end. This is the beginning. They're testing how far they can push. They're testing whether Americans will tolerate this level of overreach. And if Virginia lets this stand without a fight, without consequences at the ballot box, other states will follow. This is the blueprint. This is the model. Ban the guns. Criminalize the magazines. Exempt the enforcers. Ignore the courts. And dare the people to do something about it. So, if you live in Virginia, understand what's at stake. This isn't just about guns. This is about whether you live in a free state or a state where the government decides what rights you're allowed to have. And if you don't live in Virginia, pay attention anyway, because what's happening there is coming to your state next if we don't stop it. Subscribe to this channel if you want to stay informed as this develops, because I'm going to keep covering this as it moves through the legislature, as it gets signed, and as the legal challenges play out. Drop a comment below if you're in Virginia. Let people know what you're seeing on the ground, what you're planning to do, how you're preparing, and share this video because the mainstream media isn't going to cover this, honestly. They'll frame it as common sense gun reform while ignoring the fact that millions of people are about to become criminals for owning what was legal 6 months ago. Here's the bottom line. Virginia is about to pass one of the most extreme gun control laws in the country. It will ban virtually all modern semi-automatic rifles and pistols based on cosmetic features. It will criminalize possession of standard capacity magazines with penalties of up to 1 year in prison and $50,000 fines per magazine. It will exempt law enforcement and government agents while disarming ordinary citizens. It will take effect July 1st, 2026. And while firearms purchased before that date may be grandfathered in, magazines will not. The courts are unlikely to stop it because the Fourth Circuit has already shown it will uphold these bans, and the Supreme Court has shown it won't intervene. The only real solution is political, voting out the people who did this and replacing them with representatives who will repeal it. Until that happens, Virginians need to prepare. need to understand the timeline, and need to make informed decisions about what this means for their rights and their families. This is what unchecked government power looks like. This is what happens when one party controls everything and decides your rights don't matter. And this is what happens when people assume someone else will fix it. Nobody's coming to save you. The courts aren't reliable, the politicians don't care. The only thing that will stop this is sustained political pressure, election after election, until this law is repealed and the people who passed it are out of office. That's the reality. It's not pretty, it's not easy, but it's the truth. And if you care about the Second Amendment, if you care about freedom, if you care about holding the line against government overreach, then you need to treat this like the crisis it is, because it is a crisis. Millions of Americans are about to lose rights they've had their entire lives, and most of the country isn't paying attention. So make them pay attention. Share this, talk about it, make noise. And if you're in Virginia, get ready, because July 1st is coming fast, and when it arrives, everything changes. Good luck to everyone in Virginia. I hope you're ready for the fight ahead, and I'll see you in the next video.